Welcome to School Scene. I'm Dan Bridges, Superintendent of Naperville Community Unit School District 203, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Karen Sullivan, Superintendent of Indian Prairie School District 204. Together, Karen and I are responsible for the education of 46,000 students in 55 schools across Naperville in areas of Aurora, Bolingbrook, Lisle, Plainfield, and Woodridge. Our mutual goal is to ensure each student receives a first-class education and leaves our districts well prepared for their next phase in life, whatever that may be. One way we're able to achieve our goal is with the assistance of our education foundations. For the next half hour, we want to share with you, our community, how the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation and Naperville Education Foundation have helped provide our students the best education possible for more than 20 years. To kick things off, Karen and I are joined by Susan Rasmus, Executive Director of the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation, and Ann Spehar, Executive Director of the Naperville Education Foundation. To get things started, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of your foundation and the structure of your foundation and how it runs today in the school districts. Ann, you want to begin?
Sure, I'd love to, Dan. Thank you. First of all, thanks for inviting me to be here today. Really enjoy that, and it's great to see Susan again. The Naperville Education Foundation was founded in 1992, so we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary soon. And the foundation was, the mission statement of the foundation is to encourage creativity, excellence, and innovation in our students. The foundation was established by a group of concerned activists within our community who felt that there were some needs that the school district budget wasn't able to meet and that they wanted to help meet. So those group of concerned citizens got together and actually met with a consultant and decided how to formulate the foundation and what parts of the foundation they needed to establish. They became a corporation in the state of Illinois, received their 501c3 status, and began working, raising money, and then determining how to give that money back to the community. So we have actually 21 trustees on our board, and they're all very highly engaged folks that are really dedicated to serving our students.
That's exciting. Susan, why don't you tell us about IPEF?
You guys are doing great things at NEF. IPEF, our story, we started back in 1988, and a little bit different story. Our district looked a lot different back in 1988. We had about 8,000 students versus where we're at today. That would have been 7 schools, just 1 high school at the time. And I don't know if we had a good district, absolutely can say that, but I'm not sure if people moved here because of our district like they do now. 203 and 204, people come to these communities because of our schools. They're phenomenal. But go back to 1988, it looks a little bit different, and our superintendent at the time, Dr. Tom Scullin, had a great vision. There was no foundation. There was also no fine arts program. And he wanted to take our district from good, and his vision of what does excellence look like included the need for a very strong fine arts program. So he approached a group of businessmen in the community and said, hey, I'd like some support for this. Would you guys be in? They were, and it's exciting now that we can fast forward 25 years later. We've, of course, celebrated our 25th last year, but it's exciting to see what that vision and what that what they wanted to do, what that now looks like. If you look at our schools, we are so proud to say we're Grammy Award winning at 2 out of our 3 high schools, and our 3rd high school's been Grammy nominated. Nationally acclaimed music programs that it was a vision. The community got together and really stood behind something, and that's great. So it's that innovation and that creativity, and where can you take that? And where are we at today? Yeah, we've built that program up, but it's the other things the foundation can now do and the vision we have now for the future.
So exciting.
So let's talk a little bit about the role the foundation has in working with school districts. Sue, you want to start?
Absolutely. I think it's kind of what Ann had alluded to, and it's definitely, we work in partnership with the district. That's our number one, our goal, our mission is to work in partnership with the district to enrich education for students. A great example of how we're doing that, I'll pick one that I really like, it's our robotics initiative. So it would have been a year ago, this is a great example, foundation, or the district came to us and talked about what can we do with robotics, how can we embrace our STEM initiatives in this district and really add on to them. And we looked at that and it was, how do we get, or what would it look like if we had elementary robotics within the district? What if more kids can get involved at that earlier age? So the foundation was able to help pilot a program at 2 of our elementary schools and 2 of our middle schools with robotics, bring that in, and it went over very well. Very great response from our students and from our parents. We're thrilled. 4 girls from one of our elementary schools, Kendall Elementary, just got back from the World Championships competing in elementary robotics. How cool is that? And where does that all tie back in and how the foundation plays a role? Well, we help to support a vision and an idea and an initiative, but really we're the funding arm. We've got to come out and help find funds for programs that otherwise might not be possible. I'm thrilled with this robotics initiative. We just found out last week the Dunham Fund in Aurora is willing to do what they call a 2-for-1 challenge with us.
Great.
So they are looking at us going, you guys, if you can raise money for your robotics initiative that you want to, we'll match it. $2 for every one that you bring in toward your STEM initiatives in the coming year, up to $110,000. Things like that. Wow, is that a great way that we're able to partner with others that are out there.
Super, super.
Ann, is there something you want to share?
Sure. The foundation, as I mentioned before, is really to support the school district and the programs that the school district can't fund. We have 6 programs that we support the school district with. One is the trustee award. Every year we give a $1,000 check to each of the principals of the schools to do with as they see fit for their school. We have a math camp that we sponsor for incoming junior high school students during the summer, where they receive extra help and build confidence for math in their next school. We also do the Study Skills Academy in each of our schools. We provide funding for annual grant awards for each of our schools during the year. We also do Start the Day campaign, which is the breakfast program in each of our schools. So we're very involved and dedicated to the schools, and look forward to coming up with some new programs to be able to support.
I know both foundations depend greatly on volunteers to make them run and make the programs that you put on and you support happen. Tell us a little bit about the type of person who volunteers to support the foundation. Who are your trustees? What types of people do they represent from the community?
I think probably for both of us that they're folks that are obviously very invested in the schools and the public schools, and feel that the public schools' missions are ones that they can identify and support. They can raise funds for, they can volunteer for, time, talent, treasure, and they're very active people. Usually they're active in more than one cause within the community. Susan, what do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And it's passion. I think that's the number one thing that they all bring to the table. They're very passionate about making a difference for kids and making a difference for the future of our kids and for the future of our community. We're lucky to have a lot of those in our area.
Absolutely.
You've talked a lot about some of the programs that you offer and how they might impact students. Is there anything in particular or any program that you want to highlight has really had a significant impact on students in both of our districts?
Both of our districts. I'll pick one of my favorites, and I believe you guys do this as well, Young Hearts for Life. So it would have been back in 2009, we were able to start Young Hearts for Life in our program. Another great superintendent who said, hey, we've got a problem, we need a solution for this. And it was, we had a couple of students that died from undetected heart conditions. And so we started a program called Young Hearts for Life, and now we're to the point where every other year, and I believe you guys do this like we do, we screen all of our high school students, and we've been able to do that. We just wrapped up our 3rd round at our last high school for this year. We've screened over 23,000 students since 2009, and I think that's great. You look at that and you go, wow, does that make a difference? Absolutely. Talked to Chris Storm, one student whose life was saved because of that. Doctors aren't sure he'd be here if it weren't for that program. We know that's a great thing, and we're so fortunate to do that. And I'll do a quick plug for thanking our partners for that. Edward Elmhurst Healthcare, if it weren't for them, and CN, they do a wonderful job. And Dan, you asked about volunteers. This year, I just pulled the numbers on it. We had over 450 volunteers that had to help to make that possible in the 3 high schools. It takes a lot of people working together to put on programs like these.
Yep.
What about you, Ann? Does anything come to mind?
I think actually the program that we fund that really means a lot to, all of them mean a lot to me, but the one that means the most to me is the Kid Booster Anonymous Fund, which is a program where we're able to provide financial assistance to students and families for all sorts of different reasons, whether it's medication or it's counseling or it's a student's family who can't afford to enable the student to participate in a particular event. We receive those requests from the social workers in all the schools, and we're able to provide funding to that student and that family so that they can get the services that they need. And those applications come in to me. it's just something that I feel, you want to attend to right away, you want to take care of right away, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart.
I know both foundations have what I would call signature events or really fun and exciting community events where people in the community and our volunteers can come together, learn about the foundations, make contributions to the foundations. And I know NEF has one coming up real soon. Why don't you each just take a minute and tell us a little bit about one of your favorite events that your foundation hosts for the community?
We just came off of Inspire 204, which was a whole lot of fun. Held that at Wentz Hall in downtown Naperville. Spotlighted some of the great things, just like you're talking about, that are going on within our district, as well as things we're able to fund. Put all of those kids on stage from each of our award-winning high school music programs. Very impressive. And we also got to spotlight some of our teachers. We're doing a new program this year called our A+ Awards, where we go in, you remember Ed McMahon and the Prize Patrol way back when, and we get to go in and surprise teachers once a month and say, hey, thanks for what you're doing and for making a difference in our schools. So we get to also recognize them at that event. Good stuff.
Real fun.
Yeah. The event that you were speaking about earlier is our Building a Passion for Literacy event coming up on May 7th, very soon, next week. And it's an event where we showcase the funding and the programs that we fund within the schools and within the district. We normally have musical entertainment from our students. We have a special speaker, a keynote speaker this year. It's Elaine Smith, a children's book author and illustrator, and we highlight a specific grant that we've given to a school. This year we're going to have some poetry readings by students and some story boxes on display from students since the theme is literacy. So that should be fun.
One of my favorite events. Look forward to it.
Yeah, good.
So one of the things that both of the foundations do is partner with the school districts, but you also partner with other organizations as well to fulfill your mission. So you want to talk a little bit about some of those partnerships?
I think it's kind of cool. We're sitting here at NCTV's studios. They've done a great job partnering with us this year, especially on one, and that was Mission 60504. That was a program we got to do. We partnered with the City of Naperville as well as Naperville Development Partnership, NCTV, AMC Theaters down at Naperville Crossings. Pretty cool thing. We got to help high school students, marketing students, about 270 of them got to get together, got to meet with Planning Commission, different folks, and figure out what businesses would be right to invite to come be part of Naperville Crossings. And they really got to experience a lot of different things. Great program for them. As a superintendent, I think you enjoyed watching them as well, didn't you, Karen? It was wonderful. But those partnerships are key. Without all of those, I know there are a lot of things we couldn't make happen.
Yeah. In fact, we're looking at something to partner together
I'm
about.
so glad to hear that.
So we're just starting down that path. But I think a recent partnership that we're working on is with Loaves and Fishes for our Start the Day campaign, which is a breakfast program for students that come to school hungry. And Loaves and Fishes is working with us in 2 schools, doing a pilot program for providing fresh fruit and vegetables for the students who come to school hungry. And that grew out of actually an annual grant award about 6 years ago now, where one of our teachers in our school said, hey, we really need some help doing this. Students are coming to school hungry. They're not functioning well. They might be distracted during class. And we think this would really help us to make that student's experience better in the school. So we started funding it then, and it's grown. And now we're looking forward to this new partnership with Loaves and Fishes.
How lucky are we to live in a community that has such strong foundations to support our schools? I know there's so much that members of the community may want to do to get involved. In just a sentence or two, if I'm watching at home for the first time and hearing about IPEF or NEF, what's the one thing you'd encourage me to do to learn more about the foundations?
Oh, jump on our websites, both of them. Wouldn't you say? I hope they can put it right up there on the screen for us. It's IPEF204.org, or follow us on Twitter. I'm sure you guys do the same, and those are great ways to get involved really quickly. See what we've got coming up where you can jump in and be a part of it.
Yeah. NEF's website page is NEF203.org, and they can also just give me a call, and I'd be happy to talk to them about ways that they can get engaged with the foundation.
And what types of volunteers are we looking for right now in both foundations?
I think all the characteristics we talked about before. Engaged, passionate people that are willing to really roll up their sleeves and get busy.
And anybody who wants to open their checkbook as well, Dan.
Absolutely.
We're always good
Let's
with that.
not be bashful. I know the foundation's part of their mission is to raise some funds to support programs that the school districts themselves can't do alone. So
Right.
I know I speak for Karen when I say that both foundations mean so much to us, that as an exemplary school district, we do depend on partnerships like the foundation and the people who volunteer to support the foundation. So thank you so much for everything that you do to support our schools.
Well, thank you.
So again, thanks to Ann and Susan for joining us today. And when we return, Karen and I will talk to two teachers who will give us a first-hand account of how these foundations have provided assistance to them and their students.
Welcome back to School Scene. Joining us now are Matt Ragusa, District 204 Science Teacher, and Mark Rowzee, District 203 Science Teacher. Gentlemen, you want to tell us a little bit first about yourselves and where you teach, what you do?
I'm a chemistry and chem phys teacher at Neuqua Valley High School, and I've been teaching there for 6 years, straight out of the University of Illinois. And along with doing that, I'm also part of our iSTEM club. I'm the sponsor for our robotics team, and I'm also an assistant track and field coach.
Great.
My name is Mark Rowzee. I am a physics teacher at Naperville North High School. I'm in my 10th year of teaching. Previously, I was in engineering, and I am heavily involved in our robotics program, our physics club, amongst other things at the school, club-wise.
So as you both alluded to in your introductions, very involved in robotics and STEM education in your schools. Would you each just take a couple of minutes here and tell us a little bit about your robotics programs and the STEM for All initiatives in your schools right now?
Okay. We have a first robotics team. It's Team 3061, Husky Robotics. We've been in existence for, I believe, 7 years now. We've grown from 4 students to about 84 students, if I recall. This year, we've had some great successes. We in a 6-week span, we build from nothing to about a 120-pound robot, which is phenomenal. And probably what's more phenomenal about that is it happens with high schoolers, and but it doesn't happen without help from community organizations and such. NEF, of course, has helped us in the past. Also, we have many corporate sponsors now. We've grown in that arena as well, and we just couldn't do it without them. And we try as well through our physics club to promote STEM initiatives, whether it's just creative build ideas, creative projects, also things that we have gotten funding for through various methods.
Great. Matt, how about you?
I started off as part of our iSTEM club. So several years back, our schools decided to start an iSTEM club. And one of the things that students really wanted to get involved with, which was a STEM initiative, was robotics. And so I kind of stepped forward in that role, kind of taking on the robotics portion. We decided to go with a VEX Robotics platform. So we compete in a different competition than Naperville North. But essentially, it's almost kind of like a robotics kit that you can buy, similar to like a Lego Mindstorms kit. Okay. But instead of using plastic pieces, it's metal pieces and motors and wires. And students then take those things, and VEX, one of the things that they do really well is they create a game. So they kind of provide the problem for students. So at the beginning of every year, they make this new game, and that game is something that students have to engineer a robot to try and build. So students have to evaluate that and essentially use these parts to try and come up with a functioning robot out of that.
Sounds fun.
So can you talk a little bit about how the foundations have really helped you with these programs?
So our foundation stepped up in a real big way last year. So we started with the robotics 3 years ago. And we had one robotics kit, and we had a couple students who would show up once in a while for kind of our club meetings. And then the next year, kind of word got out that this was a fun thing to do, and all of a sudden we had an explosion. We had 30 students show up. And 30 students in one robot isn't going to really kind of cut it. So the IPEF stepped up when I said we need some more help, and they gave us funding not only to buy parts, but in the state of Illinois, these competitions are hard to come by. And so being kind of a new sponsor, not realizing kind of what the landscape was like, I missed the registration for a lot of those competitions. There were only 2 in the state of Illinois at the time. So the Indian Prairie Education Foundation helped by giving our club funds to host a competition, which then also enabled Wabansie and Metea Valley to create teams and to come to our competition. So not only did they help out our students, but they helped out students throughout the state kind of provide opportunity, because that required getting fields for competition. It required getting like game pieces and some of the other logistics that require hosting kind of these big events. Outside of just the robotics venture, there's other things that our IPF funds that are STEM-based. Those things are like our coding club at our middle school level. This year they started off some middle schools with the same VEX Robotics competition, and some elementary schools do a similar one with VEX IQ, which is similar to the robotic system that we have.
Naperville Education Foundation has helped our robotics team. First of all, when we were brand new, we were completely strapped for cash. We didn't know what we were getting into when you have 4 or 5 students to begin with. We found out the day before the application was due that, hey, we're going to sign this and enter. And they helped us initially with just some of the entrance fees. There are thousands of dollars in fees just to get enrolled, but it's definitely a worthwhile program. And then later on, as we became well supported by community, contributors, companies, NEF became a vehicle for those donations because they're a 501c3 entity, gave maximum tax benefit to them, and then we get the funding that comes in. So they're still involved in our robotics STEM initiatives. I have to say I've been the benefactor of several major grants now from NEF that I was trying to think, actually, it started, I think, with a $250 grant that I wrote a couple of years ago now, just for some sensor equipment for in the classroom. And then I remember writing one asking for some Van de Graaff generators. And then that has evolved now into some really great projects that our physics club does on a yearly basis. We try to come up with something that involves younger kids, so we're passing our understanding of something on to them and getting them inspired and getting them initiated into, hey, this is what high school is going to be like, such as we did the Science Under the Sea grant, which we built 9 ROVs, so remotely operated vehicles for underwater exploration, and that culminated in the pool doing a series of tasks with a lot of junior high kids and high school mentoring kids. And then we did last year, we had a grant that was it was called Science in the Sky, and it was for building quadcopters with junior high kids that feed into our school, and we built some quadcopters that, from not just a kit, but basically just, we sourced the components and showed them, we being the high school kids, they mentored them in that build, and they've funded initiatives for guest speakers and things like that. So anything we can do to get the students excited about STEM earlier is really what we're trying to do, and NEF has really helped with that.
Well, great. I'd like you both to talk a little bit more about that. Both IPEF and NEF exist really to support programs and things for our students that we may not have the funding as a school district to be able to support on its own. And we've heard great success of your robotics programs and things that you're doing. Talk to us a little bit about why for kids, why for our students, these robotics programs and STEM programs are so important. What's it going to mean to them in the future, and why is the support from NEF and IPEF then so important to ensure that these continue?
Go ahead, Matt.
So I think that kind of one of the big things that would speak to is that our workforce, like, we need to create more STEM type workers. And there's a lot of students out there who really don't see themselves in STEM type careers. And so by getting involved with these students kind of at a young age, it really kind of opens their eyes. I always joked around with my friends. I had a bunch of roommates who were engineers when I was in college. And I always joked around with them that if I knew what engineering was when I went to college, that maybe I would have been an engineer. But I didn't really know what that meant or kind of how fun it could be to really be building things and trying to problem solve and go through that engineering process. And so when I go and I see our elementary students now kind of getting a chance to get hands-on with the engineering thing, like their path kind of changes in terms of not just the skills that they learn in the robotics, but the way that they approach school and the way that they approach science and engineering type classes. And so now, like our club, we have some really interested students in robotics and in STEM type fields. I know out of my club, out of the graduating seniors, that when I just kind of went and polled them, that it was computer engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and those kinds of things that they're going to be majoring in. And so it's kind of helping create that pipeline. And now that we have younger students in there, those younger students are really getting the opportunity to do that.
We're seeing the same thing in terms of, we look at our senior graduates from our robotics team or physics club, and I can, 11 out of 12 or 12 out of 15 are engineering. What's really also something that I'm interested in is getting more women into engineering, and I think this accomplishes that. The earlier you can grab these kids and say, hey, this is a pathway you can take, whether it's programming or coding that comes with building, or physically the building of the robot. Those are skills that they're going to say, oh, I can do that, and I can turn that into something I really love in the future, and that is huge. I mean, if we can bring more of them into the fold sooner, that's just going to pay dividends later on.
Yeah, very cool.
We just have a couple minutes left, seconds left probably, but can you talk just a little bit about how you see your programs expanding?
So this past year, our robotics program grew from just 3 high schools having a club to involving 2 middle schools and 2 elementary schools, and we're hoping to expand that so that within probably the next 5 years, that hopefully all of our middle school and elementary schools would have some kind of opportunity at their school.
We have 4th and 5th grade initiatives at numerous elementaries now that are in First LEGO League early robotics programs, and we are taking our robot to see them, or so that they can see it. And it usually, they're thrilled. It inspires them, and that's really what we're trying to do.
We've really seen that idea of a maker space grow in
Yes.
our elementary schools
Absolutely.
too. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Matt and Mark. Dan and I would like to thank our guests for joining us on this episode of School Scene and providing a more detailed look at the foundations that support our districts. For more information, visit NEF203.org and IPEF204.org. Until next time, I'm Karen Sullivan. Thanks for watching.